Živijo, tukaj smo s Phillipom Parfittom iz Nokia. On vodi odnose z razvijalci za EMEA regijo. Naredil en kratek intervju z njim. Za intervju pa posnet na novi Nokii N8, tako da vidite tudi, kako snema HD video v praksi. So Phillip, how do you evaluate the current status of mobile development in Slovenia?
Well, I think it's very active actually. I've been coming backwards and forwards to Slovenia almost every week. I'm based in Vienna, and I do specifically remember being here in the summer, actually based here in this cellar, doing a hackathon with a group of really nice Slovenian developers. What's really nice about it is the feeling here. So it's a strong community feeling. Everybody's very friendly towards each other and helping each other. So very supportive. And of course, since then, backwards and forwards with other activities. So active developers seeing more and more applications coming out of the Slovenian developer community. When we ship a new device these days, what we're doing is putting a link in the device. So when you see the Overstore symbol, when you click that, it's actually a link that takes you to a website. That way we can ensure that the latest version of the Overstore client is downloaded to the device. Obviously the devices get shipped and the Overstore client has its own roadmap, its own evolution. So we're always trying to make sure that when somebody has that out-of-the-box experience, they're always getting the latest version of the Overstore client on their device. The first thing to say is that device management obviously a very important issue for handset vendors, something that Nokia has a lot of experience with. You're even able as an end user today to update your phone software over the air. So I have a lot of experience in that. Former solution, content solution from Nokia Preminet, or Download as the brand name was, you were able to get application updates pushed to the user. I think what's different about Overstore is that every time there's an update to the application, it has to go through the QA process, obviously to make sure there's nothing there that compromises either the security of the device, the safety of the device, or infringes any content, IPR. So somehow that QA process needs to be integrated with the technological capability to push the software update, and that's something that we're working on, but I can't give any specific dates at the moment. The first thing to say is that actually 90% of applications that get published to the Overstore actually go through the QA process, the quality assurance process, within 5 days. We're really pleased about that. Of course, obviously, if you're a publisher or a developer of the 10% that take longer than 5 days, I can imagine how you get frustrated. So I think the first thing to say is that when you go in to publish an application to the Overstore, there's a long description there of the terms and conditions and recommendations about the sort of things you should do to get your application through the QA process as quickly as possible. Not all developers read that, and that does lead to some problems. And of course, there's always more that we can do to communicate those terms and conditions. So something that me and my team are now doing is that every time we have a developer event, we spend time talking about the OV publish process. So just to try and share the message and make it as easy as possible, even more easy as possible. I think one of the good advantages of Overstore is that it's now available in over 130 countries. I don't think that's available from any of our competitive application stores. So that's something obviously that is a great opportunity for developers. But when you go into the publishing tool and when you're entering your metadata, you have to say which languages, which devices, which markets, which price points. And all of those combinations and permutations are something that can be a little bit confusing. But for those people that start in a domestic market and then expand internationally, country by country, I think that the Publish tool is able to support that. I think from a global perspective, the current recommendation from Nokia is if you go into the Publish tool and you say you want your application to be global, then you have to support English. So the support of other languages is something that comes on board. So it's a better way of describing that. More languages will be supported going forward. 90% of the people that access the Overstore today are accessing it in their own language. So we've done a lot already. Obviously, we prioritise the localisation based on the size of the market, and that's something, more languages will be coming on stream. We have been running a closed beta trial of the Maps API. We've been inviting some of our key developer partners to be part of that closed beta. Obviously looking forward for their input, but also looking to evolve the API and make it even better. So yeah, we hope to be able to announce that Maps API publicly very soon. I don't know about the Slovenian Android developer community. What I can say is that Forum Nokia globally has 4 million members. We have 1.5 million page impressions nearly every week of the Forum Nokia pages. Obviously a very active developer community here in Slovenia that are working on Nokia platforms. So I think again, we have to be careful when we make generalizations about developers. Obviously if you're a smaller developer with limited resources, you have to make your choice which platform, which OS you're going to go for. If you're a larger, perhaps more mature developer, you can support multiple platforms. And I think one clear advantage that Nokia gives you is 1.3 billion devices. We're shipping 270,000 smartphones every day. That's something like a smartphone every 13 seconds is sold. I don't believe that Android or Apple are even hitting those targets. So we're very proud of the volume, very proud of the heritage of working with developers, not just in Slovenia, but around the world. Let me take you back to the beginning of September in London at the Nokia Developer Summit. It's a worldwide developer competition called Calling All Innovators. The $1 million prize fund went to a small Kenyan developer. So Nokia's been very active that's just one example of a developer competition that Nokia runs and Nokia supports. So developer competitions, I think, are used by all the main handset vendors as a way of engaging both with the operator, but also directly with the developer. They're a very successful way of getting that engagement going. And it's quite amazing to sit in those developer competitions, sitting here in the summer, 24 hours of coding in a hackathon, to feel the energy, to feel the creativity and the innovativeness of these developers. So yeah, I think competitions are important, they're not the only thing. I think if one of your competitors comes out with a product, and it doesn't matter whether you're making cars or you're making aeroplanes or you're making CD players or whatever, or phones, if your competitor comes out with a great product, you really have to analyse then whether it's worth copying or whether there's any way you can innovate that. Obviously 7 or 8 years ago, we didn't know the plans of Apple, we didn't know the plans of Google in the mobile phone space. So at that time we were still very busy shipping all those devices that have brought us up to 1.3 billion devices sold, Nokia devices sold today. We have 3 main device platforms. In the feature phones, these are the so-called Series 40 devices. That's based on Java. So a developer can use existing tools like NetBeans or Eclipse to develop Java applications for the S40. And when we talk about smartphones, we're primarily talking about the S60 or Symbian platform as it's now known. And again, that will also run Java applications. And when we talk about mobile computers, we're talking about the MIMO based on Linux today, and then MeeGo going forward after the announcement with Intel. So basically, developers have got a choice of 3 main platforms: Java, feature phones based on Java, smartphones based on S60 and Symbian, and mobile computing based on MIMO moving to MeeGo. And I think then to sort of bring in a second point, I think it's very easy to generalize about developers. And I think if you're a small developer with limited development resources, again, you have to choose which platform you're going to develop for. If you're a bigger developer, then you can develop for multiple platforms. That's the first point. Second point, again, then, if you're a more sophisticated developer, you might be thinking about the end user. So let me give an example of that. So the typical prices of the S40 feature phones are less than €100 average selling price. If you talk about the smartphone, they go between 100 and 500 euros. Talk about mobile computers, they're typically more than 500 euros. So that also means that the profile of the person that would buy that device is fundamentally different. Actually, we've just released an update to the MIMO platform specifically for the N900. So for those people that are fans, and there are some real hardcore fans out there of the N900, some of my colleagues included, it has been updated and has a very loyal community and following there. So the first thing to say is that the Qute's been around since around 1991, so Qt is not new. The first mobile version of Qt did come out in June, so in that sense, Qt for mobile is actually quite new. And in the first few months of Qt for mobile, the downloads of the Qt SDK outstripped the previous downloads of the Carbide toolset. So yeah, Qt's been around for a long time, has a long heritage, a long history, particularly in PC-based and embedded control systems. I was talking to a guy who made vending machines, and he used Qt to define the software to determine what value of the coin that went into the machine. So yeah, Qt for mobile has been around since around June time, and people are heavy users of Qt already. Qt contains a simulator, so the first point to make is it's not an emulator, it's a simulator. Simulators don't give the real device experience, it's just a way of testing as you go through your development process. So at the end of the day, then you do need to download your application to device and test the device properly, test the application on the device properly. For Nokia can help with that, discounted device purchase. We've got a room full of devices in Finland that you can book, like you borrow a book from the library, you borrow them and you load your app to it, it's got a SIM card in it, you can do all sorts of stuff. And then we also have devices locally that developers can use. So yeah, I think there is an obligation. Certainly if I was putting my brand to my application, putting it out in the marketplace, irrespective of whether I'm working on Apple or Android or on Nokia platforms, I would want to make sure that my brand has the best user experience and I would test it. So yeah, there is an obligation, I would say, on the developers to test it, and not just to get through the QA process. So the publish to OBI does ask you if you've tested your application, and when it goes through the QA process it doesn't function, then you will fail QA. So we want to make sure and ensure that the end user experience through the OBI store is as good as possible. Well, let's put it this way, we're not a one-man, one operating system, one product company to compare ourselves to a particular competitor of ours. So yeah, we have 1.3 million devices out there, 500 million of those are feature phone S40 devices based on Java. We're planning to ship around 200 to 300 million devices based on Symbian S60. So there's massive volumes out there, and I think if you want to tackle those volumes, then you have to choose which devices you want to go for and which application to go for. Yeah, Qt Quick is something that you'll hear more of a more increased focus on coming from Nokia in the next few weeks and months. More than that, I can't say at this stage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.